Good morning, everyone. How are you doing? I wish everything is great. Right, today we are going to finish or continue discussing about the database and database management system. So let's go through what we have, or let's go through the remaining information in this chapter slide. So what we have discussed before is a database system. We define the database and the elements, the main elements of the database. So we said previously, as a recap, we said the database is logically related data, including an entity, which is a distinct object, like a person, place, or concept. Then there are attributes and relationship, which is the association between entities. Okay. Then we have discussed the database management system. We said it's the application or the program, not the application, sorry, the program that provides access to the database, provide access and control over the database by having two parts of languages or database language, data definition language, which is DDL, which allow user to specify the data types, constraints, and structures, plus the data manipulation language, DML, which allows users to insert, update, and delete or retrieve data from the database. Okay, so these are two main facilities of database management system. All right, and we said the DML, so GDL and DML. DML provides the facility of having structured query language like SQL. Okay, so what are the main, just a minute. What are the main benefits of having database management systems? So we said it provide control access to the database. Like what? So we have here number of benefits of having database management system. So number one, there will be security system. Number two, integrity system. Number three, concurrency control. Sorry about that. And number four, recovery control system. And number five, there will be user accessible catalog. So let's go through all of these. All right, so let's talk about security system. By having a database management system, there will be a mechanism that authorize some or a group of users and unauthorize another group of users. So it will have or allow some authorized users to access certain amount of data. At the same time, it will prevent some unauthorized user to access also certain amount of data. So this is the meaning of the security system. Having a security system in the database management system, there will be a mechanism that hide some sort of data from other unauthorized users to get access to it. All right. So this is number one. By having this system, there will be a security system. Number two, there will be, so this is number one, security system. Unauthorized users will be allowed, will be not allowed or will be prevented to access the data stored in the database. Number two, integrity system. There will be more consistent data or stored data in the database, which means a level of integrity or data integrity will be increased by having the database management system. So the data will be stored only in the centralized system um, without being stored, for example, in another instance of the database or a division of the database or application. There will be no need to repeat or have duplicating the data. So there will be data consistency and integrity. And then there will be concurrency control system. All right. Which means that it will allow multiple users to get access to the database at the same time. So concurrency control means that you remember the file-based limitations. It was like there will be one person is allowed to get access to the system at a time. But in the database management system, there will be concurrency control, which means that many users or multiple users are allowed to get access to the database at the same time. There will be no breakdown or no error or system um, error, for example, if many or multiple users are getting access to the database. Then there will be recovery control system, which means in case the system fails, exactly, it will remove the pressure on the data processing member of the staff. Okay, so data processing will be no longer having more headache and more procedures or steps to be followed. So it will be handled all by the database management system. So recovery control system, in case that there is any failure in the software or hardware, will be a restoration mechanism. Like it will recover the system and sorry, and it will return the system to the point that there will be no failure or there will be no error. So this is the recovery control system. Also, it will be provided by the database management system. So previous consistent state of the database itself or the database system, it will retrieve all the system to that point. All right. So this is just exactly the same as what we have in the operating system, right? Windows, for example, in case there is any failure in the system or there is any error or any bug, okay, which slows down the system or the Windows will suggest to recover the whole or the entire system to the point that there is no error. So it will take you back to that point or to that date. All right, so number 5 will be there will be user accessible catalog. Yeah, exactly. The data will be saved. It will return back to that point of the system. At the same time, it will keep all the files. It will keep all the files saved even after that point, even after that consistent state of the system. Number 5, user accessible catalog. As we said, there will be description of data in the database system, right? Not data itself. Data itself, it will be stored. The data itself, it will be stored in the database. In the database system, there will be also more description about data, and it will be, yes, everything about data, data type, data size, okay, and even the accessing the database entries. There will be all data descriptions or all data details. Anything about the data will be stored in something we call user accessible catalog. And this also will be provided by the database management system. So there will be 5 benefits of having database management system. security system to prevent unauthorized users, integrity system, there will be more consistent data stored in the database, concurrency control, allowing more than one user to access the database at the same time, recovery control system, it will restore the database to a more consistent state, and user accessible catalog, which will provide more description about the data. Okay, so all these are benefits of having database management system. How about the application program? So we talked about the database. You remember that system which we draw? I have done this many times. Okay, since we start this chapter slide. So we said the database system will include a database, which is a cylinder shape, and then there will be database management system, which controls access to the database. Okay, and there must be an interface, all right, that interacts with the database along or through the database management system and provide an interface to the end user, right? So database application program, basically it's a application or computer program. It interacts with the database. So it's a computer program which interacts with the database. Okay, it interacts with the database itself, and by issuing appropriate requests. So like for example SQL, you have started SQL, right? So it will be able to issue some statements. All right, okay, great, that's great, to the database management system in order to perform some specific tasks. All right, like for example, if you want to retrieve the data, if you want to delete, if you want to add more data, you can do this through the application program. Now, these can be batch applications or online applications. All right, so application that can be interacting with the database through the database management system can be online or can be installed in your computer. So they are developed by using the programming languages like third generation programming language or fourth generation programming language. And what we can see now, you are using the fourth generation programming language like SQL. All right, this is the fourth generation. So this is an example. SQL statement is an example that you can use in order to get access to the database or interact with the database through the database management system. So you can see here in this figure, it illustrates how the database system or database management system will be handled by different departments, or will be provided to different departments. Sorry. So for example, you remember that one, the file based, there was only a separate entry for each department. But in this system, you can see it's more centralized. Both departments here in this example, sales and contracts, are interacting with the database management system, which allow access to the database. All right, so here we have data entry and reports for the sales application programs, and the other one, data entry and reports for the contracts application programs. So it will be handling the data entry, for example, data maintenance and generation of the reports. Compared to the file-based system, the physical structure and storage are now managed by the database manager. So this is the main thing here. So it will be managed, and there will be more level of data consistency and recovery plus security. Okay. All right. So as you can see here, there will be on the database, there will be the data itself plus the data definitions. Okay, the data definitions. Now, you have one of you mentioned something called views. So end users in the database system will have different views, which means it's providing a more customizable way, okay, for each user based on the user requirements. All right, the database system allow having different views depending on the user requirements. So it's very powerful. It's a powerful tool. Why? Because it's like having different or just meeting all the user requirements, and it's very important to have this because we have multiple users. Okay, so each user will require having different views. Okay, and by having views, there will be heading parts of the database from unauthorized users, for example. Okay, like you as students are not allowed to get access to some sort of data and stored in the database, while me as a faculty member, I'm allowed to get access to this data. You get my point? So your view will be different. All right, it will differ from my view. So allow each user to have his own view of the database. Okay, this is the main point of having the view. It allows every user or each user to have his own view of the database. It's essentially some subset. Some subset means it shows you whatever required for you, right? So it's more powerful than having just getting access to data without having customizable views. Now, what are the main benefits of having views? Number one, it reduces complexity. So it will be simple. Each user will have just the tools that he needs, or the views or the interface he needs. No, no, for example, unclear tools, for example, or no ambiguous data or something. So just it's simple. Whatever each user needs, it will be provided by the system. And having views provide a level of security because unauthorized users are not allowed to get access uh, to some parts of the database or data of the database. So it will hide whatever is not related to certain users. So this is a level of security, and provide mechanism to customize the appearance of the database. Sorry. So number one, it will reduce complexity. Number two, level of security. By hiding a certain amount of data from unauthorized users. We have also customized the appearance, consistent and changing picture of the structure, so of the database. Even the database is, for example, changed, but you are not aware of whatever changed or updated inside the system. Okay, so it will be like just the views, just the interface which the users interacts with. So these are 4 benefits of having views, different views in the database system. No complexity, it will be simple. Level of security by hiding a certain amount of data from some users, customizing the appearance, and consistent and unchanging picture. All right. Now these are some benefits of having the views. Okay, let's talk about the components of database management system environment. I believe that you are aware of the element of information system. It's exactly the same. You know this, the part of information system, right? Information system includes 5 or 6 main parts. Okay, starting with people, procedures, hardware, software, then there is data, and maybe there is another, the sixth part is internet, okay, or the network. Now this is the same here. The components of database management system environment will include the same, exactly the same elements. There are two main categories. One is the machine here on the left side, and the other one is human. So the machine will be hardware and software. Hardware, what does it mean? The hardware means any physical device, any physical part of the database system can be hardware. Like, for example, a front end, the PCs used by the users, the devices used, the network devices, and or the back end, which is the servers. All right, server used to store the database. Okay, and so on. So any physical device or many devices can be counted as hardware. Hardware of the as a component of the database management system. And the software, any application or software used by the database management system, including the database management system itself, the database application program, and other software, maybe required software in the database system. And then the other part, so this is one category, machine. Okay, machine means hardware and software. And the other part on the right side, which is human. And human means people who are users, who are using the database system, like owners, managers, and end users, let's say, administrators, demonstrators, all right? Many types of people who are using the system, and or designers, for example. There are so many roles of people who are using the database. Maybe the database uh, like designers, the system designers, the application program designers. These are also, or programmers, maybe, for example. So these are all counted as people of the people as a component, as a main component, okay, under human. And people are following some steps or handling some procedures in order to get all the actions done. For example, activities of the database system will be like procedures, turning on the system. Um, many steps can be handled by people or they can be followed, like, for example, printing, retrieving data. All these are steps. Okay, so these are procedures. In the middle, there will be a bridge that will link both human and machine, and that is data. All right, so data will be the most important part of the database management system components environment. Okay, because it will be like the bridge linking both the machine with human. All right, so without data, human will not interact with the system, okay, with machines. So data will be like the bridge between them. Now let's talk about each of these in full details. As we said, hardware is a part of the database management system environment or the component. Uh, so it will be very essential part, all right? And it can be PC or network of computers. So this is one example. It will depend on the organization requirements. So we cannot say that all organizations or corporations will need certain or a specific hardware or piece of hardware. It will depend on the requirement. Maybe, for example, University of Bahrain will require having servers will require having network devices or equipments, will require having, for example, large number of PCs. Okay, so because there will be labs, right? There will be computer labs. While other organizations like a bank or a company, it will be different because the story will be different. Okay, the scenario of having the database will be different. So it depends on the requirements of the organization. And so the database management system, it will run also. This will be a reason that might that require having a certain or a specific piece of hardware, because some database management system will require specific operating system or a piece of hardware. So it will depend. It will depend on the organization requirement or the database management system used. And also there will be disk space or RAM, amount of RAM required for the database management system. Okay, so this is hardware. And for example, as we mentioned, maybe there will be a need to have a server or database backend, because the database will be stored on the system. So it can be a server, all right? Or we have, so these are types of hardware: database backend, which means server. Backend means the device that is used in the background of the system. So it will be managed by the database management system and stored on a server. And database front end, which will be providing interfaces, who are clients. Okay, that is the client server architecture. You know the client server architecture, right? It's basically focuses on having a server serving number of connected clients. So the main system, the centralized system, is a server, and the server will receive some requests from clients connected. Clients, actually, it's nodes are connected to the server, but sending requests to the server to get some services. For example, get access to some locations in the server, or for example, share some information. They can share some hardware like printer or something. You can share software. So all these are clients. If I can draw it here, it will be more, or it will clarify the idea. So this is, for example, this is the server. Okay, let's assume that this is the server. Okay, so this is the server. Client server architecture means that we have a central system, which is called the server, and there are connected devices here. Okay, let's assume that these are the clients. Okay, so the communication in this system will be through the server. All right, and there will be here a link between them all. So this is this client, for example, the first client will send requests to the server, and the server will send the feedback or will answer the request. Okay, same with other clients. Okay, so these are clients. All right, each one of these nodes are clients. All right, so this is the hardware. Now the software as we mentioned, it can be the database management system itself. All right. So database management system itself, operating system, which means like it will require some database management system require a specific operating system. Like for example, uh, Oracle can work properly on Windows, for example, but other kinds of database management systems require like Linux. Okay, so there are so many different operating systems that can be used along with the database management system. Network software, if necessary, if there is a network in the organization, there must be a network software or application for the network, running the network. Application program, as we mentioned, it can be interacting with the database management system and it can be written in the third generation language or fourth generation language. We mentioned that, right? Third generation language, you know that third generation language or programming language are like C, C++, Java, and fourth generation language like SQL. It's embedded in a third generation language. Okay, so this is it can be written. Application program is it's written in three generation language or four generation language. Database management system itself may have its own fourth generation language tools. Okay, which allow more improving the productivity. Okay, it will be embedded with the database management system like SQL, embedded with Oracle. All right, so it will be the program produced will be easy to maintain. You can, for example, have your own reports by having this reports, forms, graphics, and application generators. So these are examples of the fourth generation tools. You can have your own report. So the database management system will allow you to print reports, to create or modify the forms, to have the graphics or application generators. So all these are tools that can be embedded with the database management system. Okay, it will make it more easier. Now, as we said, the data is the bridge between the human part and the machine. Okay, so it's the most important. Put this in your mind. Okay, remember that the data will be the most important component in the database management system environment. As we said, it's like the bridge between human and machine. It contains different types of data, like the operational data, not just the operational data for the system. Also, it will include metadata. And metadata, we have discussed this before. There will be description about data. Our system catalog will provide more description about the data, like data type and more details about data. Data definition, data structure. All right. Now you need to know that the data structure of the database or the structure of the database will be known as a schema. Okay. So what is the schema? The schema is the structure of the database. All right. Now in this example, I don't know if you can see it clearly. Okay, there is an example here. In this example, the structure of the database or the schema of the database includes see here, includes four tables. Okay, four tables, which are property for rent. All right. And here it's very, very small size, very small font size, but it's okay. So there are four tables in this database schema. Okay, in this database schema, there will be four tables. And these tables, each table will include or contains number of attributes. So, for example, property for rent table. There is a private owner table, client table, leases table. If we take, for example, private owner table, there will be five attributes that are owner number, first name, last name, address, and telephone number. Okay, these are attributes. For the owner number attribute, the relationship between property for rent and private owner. So what is the relationship? There will be an attribute that links some sort of tables. They say here, they give you an example here in the owner number. The owner number is available in which table? Let me just check here. In the property for rent, there is owner number, the last one, okay? And in the private owner. So both table, the first one and the second one, will be having owner number. So this will be the relationship. The attributes available in two or more tables will be the relationship between these tables or entities. Okay, so this is how we can understand the schema of the database or the structure of the database. The procedures are some instructions and as we said, steps to be followed by people, or they are some instructions and rules. Okay, followed by people. Like for example, turn on the PC, open or access the database management system, print the report, retrieve the data. Okay, all these are steps, are procedures. All right. Now, what kind of procedure? Here is an example. Users and database administrators require documented procedure. What is the documented procedure? Something to be followed. They, for example, log on to the database. This is an example, okay? Use particular database management system facility. Start and stop the database. Make a backup copy. Handle hardware and software failures. Like how to identify the failed component, how to fix it, how to recover. Okay, all these are steps or procedures. Change the structure of the table, recognize database in multiple disks or improve performance, and archive data to secondary storage. Okay, so all these are examples, okay, or steps handled or followed by people. Okay, so these are procedures. Steps. Okay. Okay. Now, let's talk about people now. People is also an essential part or component of the database management system environment, and there are so many types or so many roles that handled by people within the database. Like for example, data administrator. Data administrator actually is responsible for managing data resource. Data resource means plans or planning development, maintenance of standard policies and procedures, and conceptual logical database design. So these are three main roles for data administrator. Okay, he's responsible for the data design, data standard, data policy, data procedure, data planning or development. Okay, so he will be able to consult with and advise the senior managers. So he will be in contact with senior managers, and so he will be directing the database development, all right, and make sure that the corporate objectives are met. So this is data administrator. There is a difference between data administrator and database administrator. Sometimes they are only one person, okay? So if we say data administrator or database administrator, sometimes he can do both, or one person can do both. But in some organization, they are different people. So database administrator, he is responsible for physical realization, physical, not logical like data administrator. So physical, like for example, implementation, design and implementation, how to implement the system. Okay, security and integrity control, maintenance of the operational system. He will be ensuring the satisfactory performance of the application of users. Okay, so sometimes these roles can be handled by data administrator as well. But see the difference here? There will be, he is responsible of the design of conceptual and logical database, while database administrator will be responsible for the physical design, physical, not logical, all right? So here they are saying the same, mentioning that the database administrator database is more technically oriented than the data administrator, and sometimes in some organizations there is no distinction between both. All right. Okay. There is another person here who are the logical database designer. Logical database designer. He is responsible for identifying data, the data, what is the entity, what are the attributes, the relationship between entities, what are the constraints that can be restricting the data, okay? He must understand the data and the constraints over the data. He must be able to understand the data in the organization and the constraints. Constraints mean some restrictions that can be applied over the data. Okay, so this is the logical database designer. He will be able to identify the data, entities, attributes, relationship, and so on and so on. What is the constraint? There is more details here about how to define the constraints. These are characteristics of data. Okay. For example, constraints, you can restrict the number of data, like number of certain data, number of items stored. For example, here they put some examples. They provided some example for you. A member of staff cannot manage more than 100 property for rent at the same time, or sale, rent or sale. So this is a restriction, right? They put a restriction among or over the data. So this is one constraint, one type of constraint. Only, yeah, exactly. Constraint only from 1 to 100 properties to be managed, not more. If it exceeds more 100 properties, it will be, maybe there will be a message appearing on the screen. Okay. Another constraint example, handling. A member of staff cannot handle the sale or rent for his own property. This is also another restriction. Okay, another constraint. A solicitor can't act for both the buyer and seller of a property. So this person cannot be buyer and seller at the same time. All right. So the logical database designer, he will be involved. He will be or must involve all prospective database users, all the users in the data model. Okay. And considering the constraints as well. The logical database design consists also of 2 stages. There will be conceptual database design and logical database design. Okay, so what is the difference between them? Conceptual database design, it will be for example, defining the targeted database management system, what is the application program, what is the programming languages, what are the programming languages, and any other physical consideration. So it will consider in this for example, the logical database design will be conceptual. One stage will be conceptual, considering all I don't know, which will be independent of implementation details. So there will be the targeted database management system application program, or any physical consideration will be not considered here. Okay, so this is here it's clear. It will be independent of any implementation details, like the targeted database management system, like the application, like the programming languages. Okay, and the logical database design will be targeting some models like relational, network, hierarchical, and object-oriented, and we will go through them all, inshallah. I will give you examples about them next time. So just give me one more minute. And here, physical database designer, this is another one. So there will be, see here, logical database designer or logical database design will be considering conceptual and logical. This is logical, okay? And there will be physical database design or designer. He will decide the physical design of the database, mapping the logical design into a set of tables or integrity or constraints, selecting specific structures, and designing security measures. Okay, so everything about the physical implementation. He's responsible for the physical implementation. All right, here is some more information about the physical and logical design. Next time, inshallah, we are going to finish this chapter slide. It's a bit, it's a very long chapter slide, but you need to understand all these information. So inshallah, hopefully by the next time we are going to end or finish this chapter slide. So that was all for today. Thank you so much for attending, and see you next time. Just give me a moment. I will check the attendance. All right. You are most welcome. Okay. So only 27 participants for now. Okay, so thank you so much. You're welcome all. I'll see you next time. Take care of yourself.